Hey everyone, this video is going to be the tutorial of the last trick I actually uploaded. Now if you didn't get a chance to see that performance, it's probably the longest performance I have done on this channel. I will leave a link to it down below in the description. Now if you don't want to check out that video, or if you want to check out some different performances actually. I will leave some videos in the description of Shin on a few different shows actually performing this same trick. Performance is actually a lot shorter. So this is going to be the tutorial for the trick. So once again, my performance will be down in the description, along with a few of Shin Lim's performances. Now, in case you're wondering about the cards I'm going to be using, for this video, and I also used for the last video. These are the Theory 11 Avenger cards. Now, I have a deck review on these, so I will leave that down below in the description as well. So without further ado, let's actually get into how this is done. So, for this trick, I would suggest having 52 cards, just because if you didn't see the performance, you end with a 4 of a kind. And if you did see the performance, well, I think you know that it would probably be helpful to have a full deck, just because of a 4 of a kind. But if you know you have a full deck, and in this case, you're missing the Queen of Hearts, I recommend just going through and taking out the other three queens, okay? Because if you only have one queen and they stop on a queen to remember it, well, you're not going to be able to do that four of a kind reveal. So take out those queens, and then the rest of the deck isn't full, but you do have a four of a kind for every card. So I hope that made sense, but that's really the only setup you could actually call it. So let's say you're ready to begin the trick now. You can go up to the spectator and they can shuffle the deck, it doesn't matter. Once you get the deck back, you're gonna wanna get a peek at whatever card the spectator is going to remember. Now, the peek I did in the performance, I will leave a link for it down below in the description if you would like a tutorial on this peek. Okay, so let's say they call out stop at the 7 of clubs. And I know that it's already the 7 because I peeked it here. So you could do that peek, which I will leave down below in the description. You could force a card as well. So you could take the Jack of Hearts and you could force this as well. The main, I guess, idea here is you just want to know what card the spectator is going to choose, essentially. So whether you force it or you peek at it. So I'm going to leave some card forces down below in the description. So let's just say by cutting, the spectator looked at the Four of Hearts and remembered it. So once they remember the Four of Hearts, you can actually hand the deck over to them, and they can give it a shuffle. After they shuffle the deck, you take it back and you explain that you're going to make a few piles here. Here is what you're going to do exposed. Now, in real life, you would do it like this, but here's what you're going to do. So you're going to start spreading through the deck, and you're going to want to find the first four. Now, in this case, one of the fours is on the bottom. So if that happens for you, just give the deck another cut or a shuffle. You want the four somewhere in the middle, and here's why. You go through, you see the Four of Hearts. You're going to go ahead and take the Four of Hearts and all the cards on top of it, and you're going to break it away, and you're going to set this packet down. So now this packet actually has a 4 on the bottom. You turn the packet face down, it has a 4 on top. So that's all you're going to want to do. I'll go over this one more time at the end, just in case this doesn't make sense. So you're going to go through obviously like this, and you just explain you're going to make a few piles because we're each going to play a little game, and you're going to want actually a few people, okay? So 2 or 3 people. In my performance, there was the magician, the spectator that remembered a card, and then 2 other people. You check out Shin Lim's performance, one of them in the description. You'll see what I mean for how many people you need. So you go through, you see this 4, and without actually flashing the 4 on the bottom, because it is going to be like this, you're going to put the piles down, and I like to put them face up, just because I might have some cards left over at the end, so that I can try to square up each of the piles. You'll see what I mean. So we go through, we have another 4. You're going to square that up and put it down, and finally one more 4. I square that up and I put that down. So for each of these piles, I have a 4 at the bottom. And if I have some leftover cards, I like to explain I'm going to try to get each of these piles to be even. It's not going to work 100%, but I'm going to try to get these as even as I can. So, while you're actually going through here and you're putting down the piles, you want to remember which pile has the spectator's thought of card on the bottom. So, in this case, the 4 of hearts. So, we know this first pile actually has the 4 hearts on the bottom. So while you're going through and making these piles, if you want to, when you get to the 4 of hearts, you could put it in a number position you can remember quite easily. So like the first pile or the last pile. But now you know this is the thought of card on the pile, okay? So this is actually going to be the pile you're going to want to sort of control. You'll see what I mean. So after you've done this, you turn the piles face down, and you go to the spectator that thought of the 4 of hearts, and you ask them to just touch a pile. Now if you say actually point to a pile or pick a pile, they might assume that when they point or pick, they're gonna keep it. But if you say touch a pile, that could imply anything. So your wording is also is gonna have to be very careful here. You're gonna wanna make sure your wording isn't too, I don't know the word, confusing maybe. So you just want, in their mind, a free choice, really. So if they touch a pile, they don't know what's going to happen because they're just going to touch one. If they pick a pile, they might pick this one and you give it over here. Well, if they picked it, they're going to want it. So I hope that made sense. So watch Shin Lim's performance so you can see what he did. I'll leave this face up so you can see how this works, but it would be face down. So now you're going to have them point to a pile or touch a pile. I don't really like the word pick or choose. I guess touch or point could actually work, but not pick or choose. So the first scenario is probably going to be the least common, you could call it, but it's probably the best option. Let's say they touch a pile, they point to the one that has their card. You can say, okay, go ahead and take that and hold on to it. Okay, so that's the first one. Now let's assume they don't go with this pile. They go with one of these piles. Let's say this one. You're going to say, go ahead and give this pile to someone other than yourself, okay? Because obviously it has a 4, so it's going to work. But it doesn't have the spectators 4. So they could really give it to anyone. Let's say this person. Now you're going to say, go ahead and touch or point to another pile. They take this one. You can say, okay, go ahead and take this one for yourself. Okay, so you're really going to have the spectator take this pile because they're going to be following your orders. So they're just going to go right along with it. If they don't go for this one, you can say, okay, go ahead and point to a pile. This one, say give it to someone other than yourself. Let's say this person, okay, we have 2 left. do the same thing. They touch this one, they're gonna take it, meaning the magician is gonna take this one. Or they could have gave the magician one of these piles. It doesn't matter. You just want this pile for the spectator. So let's say they give this one to the magician, meaning the spectator takes this pile. So once you have this, here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick up your pile, and you want the rest of the spectators to follow along with you. You explain that you're going to go through and you want them to follow along with what you do. So it's sort of a do as I do type thing. So imagine this as a game of poker and start dealing your cards on the table. And they're really going to do this. Now, they don't know what's happening, but you know that your 4 is going to end up on the bottom of each pile, along with their 4s. So, just to save some time here, I'm going to speed this up. So, after you've done that, you explain, okay, so in poker, and you can come up with whatever story you want. You can even do what Shin Lim does. But I explained in poker, we might actually burn some cards. So go ahead and throw some cards out, but don't go through all your cards. So keep some at the end. So let's say we throw these many cards out. It doesn't matter. Just make sure they have at least more than 5, I would say. And finally, this pile can go away. And you say the last thing you want them to do is count how many cards they have. And all this is going to do is bring the 4 back to the top. Okay, so once they count their cards over, this brings the 4. So each person has their pile now with a 4 on top. You dealt cards, you burned cards, you really did everything. And you're going to ask the spectator that, how many cards did we throw out? It doesn't have to be approximate, and they might say about half. And you can say, now you think there's a good chance your card could be in this pile? And they would say, yes, my card could be in this pile. But you say, how about we take this a step further? What if your card is in one of these piles? Now, that might actually be really good. They might like that, or they might not. Who knows? But you can say, let's take this one step further. You might like this better. What if the card was in your pile? Now, to them, that might seem impossible because they dealt cards, they burnt cards, and they even gave each of the people their own pile. And you can even tell them that. But you say, okay, what if your card not only was in your pile, but on top of your pile? So now, for the first time ever, name your card out loud, and you tell them that, and they name 4 of hearts, and you can tell them, go ahead and turn over the top card. And when they do that, they're going to see the 4 of hearts. Now let this sink in. Don't rush into the ending reveal, because this is really good. And you can explain it again, that remember, you thought of a card, you shuffled the deck, we made 4 piles, and you pointed to each person which pile you wanted them to receive. We dealt cards down, we burned cards, and we counted how many we have. And you can explain, remember, we were playing a game of poker, and you know what's better than one card in a game of poker? A 4 of a kind. And you want them to answer the question, but if they don't know, you can say a 4 of a kind. Then you can say, and that's why I have a 4. And I don't even say I have a 4. I just say, that's why I turn it over and see a 4. This is going to stun them even more. And then slowly you can have the other people turn over their top cards, and it is going to be a 4, because of the 4 there. See why he did? A 4 of a kind. So, that was the tutorial for this trick. I hope you really enjoyed this. I don't think I'm going to teach this again, because the tutorial's going to be too long. But once you check out a few of Shin Lim's performances, I think you can get this trick down pat. once you have the peak of the card, you can really do anything you like. So, I hope you really enjoyed this. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time with a new video. Bye.